So I hope you'll excuse me for believing that the Golden State Warriors are going to win these finals against the Cavs, given that they have a 3-0 lead and, well, Kevin Durant is heartless as hell for that three-pointer he hit with like a minute left in the game. So what I want to talk about in this video is, when can we possibly expect the Warriors to be knocked off in the Western Conference? And of course this is barring like injuries or Draymond Green fighting Klay Thompson or something. Like, if we look at the Warriors situation and their salaries and their contracts over the next couple seasons, as well as some of the other teams in the Western Conference's situations, is it possible to get an accurate estimation of when these guys could finally lose, or if they'll just win until all these guys retire? So first and foremost, Kevin Durant's 28, Klay Thompson's 27, Draymond Green's 27, Steph Curry's 29. So based on that alone, I would say the next 3 years are guaranteed they're going to be awesome. Maybe at year like 4 or 5, probably year 5 or so, maybe Steph Curry could start to slow down, but given why he's so freaking good is because of his shooting, I think it's safe to say he's going to age pretty gracefully. So age is not a big scare for them. But if we look at their contracts, immediately, Steph Curry is going to get the mega max this season, which means I'm pretty sure that takes them over $100 million in salary for the 2018 season. And then you look at Kevin Durant. By all reports, he's going to re-sign for around $30 million, which would take them above the salary cap, but it would allow them to re-sign Andre Iguodala as well as Sean Livingston, so they can keep those two. And I mean, those two together, those are two of the best bench guys in the NBA on the same team. I mean, Iguodala, when he's ready to go, he's still an awesome defensive player and, you know, rebounding, playmaking off the bench. And then Livingston does a fine job as well as a backup point guard. And sometimes he plays like an off-guard position for them. Then that's all really good. And then if we look at Klay Thompson's contract, he's not done until 2019. Draymond Green's not done until 2020. I guess there could be a little bit of a scare once Klay Thompson is ready to re-sign, because at that point this team could get uber expensive. I mean, are you willing to just re-sign all these guys? Yeah, probably. I mean, if there's ever a situation where you're just like, screw it, let's just go into the super luxury tax, I'm pretty sure it's a team that could win the next like 4 NBA championships. So it's looking pretty peachy for them for a while. Now, of course, are they going to have to find role players? Yeah, I mean, if Iguodala and Livingston are the mainstays of their second unit, then they could be pretty good there. But you are going to have to find like another center because Zaza's contract is up. I mean, they could just re-sign him. David West, JaVale McGee, Ian Clark. Like, yeah, these guys are not as important as the big four, but you're still going to have to get those complementary pieces. But I think with just the minimum salaries that they have, like, I think they'll be okay for guys like that. But now let's just look at the other teams in the Western Conference and who the hell can possibly knock these guys off at some point. And immediately you start with the San Antonio Spurs. I made a video on the Spurs and their situation not too long ago where I went more in depth. But I'll just say for the sake of this video, Kawhi Leonard is 25 years old and he's under contract until 2020. So he's going to be a thorn in the Warriors' side for the next 3 years guaranteed. Or the next 2 years, actually, I should say. The question is the team around him going to be ready? Well, I've already said how I think they could re-sign both Patty Mills and Jonathan Simmons, two guys who could have an impact against the Warriors. And then, given that Pau Gasol and Tony Parker's contracts are up after 2018, that once again gives them a lot of salary relief. There's been rumors of Chris Paul this season for them. I mean, it's possible. Chris Paul would have to be willing to take less money, which, I mean, he's a part of the players' union that built up the way that the salary cap and big salaries work, so I don't know if that's going to happen. But also, if they sign Chris Paul, their chances of keeping all their other guys like Mills and Simmons, that kind of decreases, and they might lose too much even if their starting lineup gets a lot better with CP3. The Spurs are definitely going to be in there. Now, is LaMarcus Aldridge going to hold up I don't know. I could see him declining. I mean, it's already kind of happening. If he's a shell of himself by even next season or when his player option is up in 2019, that's definitely going to put a blow into the Spurs' chances. But I think as of right now, given that they're not too committed to any salary and Kawhi Leonard's a freaking beast, yes, the Spurs definitely have a chance to give Golden State some problems. For the Houston Rockets, I've said it before, if they really want to go next level, you got to turn Ryan Anderson into Paul Millsap, which, if you trade his contract away and you attach a first-round pick to it, someone may be willing to take it on. That would give you the salary to go for Millsap. The risk there is his age, of course, but defensively, he could play against the Warriors, and then he would also give them a lot more versatility offensively because of his ball handling and his playmaking and his ability to post up on switches, because, as we all know, part of the reason why the Spurs didn't have too much resistance against the Rockets was because Houston, while they have a very potent offense, it's a one-dimensional. So if you figure out how to counter it, the Rockets don't have any answers. Millsap gives you more answers. Also, if Houston wants to have a big increase in talent, they pretty much have to do it this year, because after the 2018 season, Clint Capella's a restricted free agent, and I guarantee someone's going to throw like $15 million at him. So Houston has to decide right now if they just want to be really good or if they want to go for it, and I think Millsap is the avenue for that happening. Now we get to the Utah Jazz, a team that's really interesting. Of course, you have to re-sign Gordon Hayward. If he leaves, then you kind of press the reset button and you build around Rudy Gobert. But if Hayward stays, then I think Utah could be in a position where they could be an elite defensive team and perhaps good enough offensively to be like an 0-4 Pistons sort of deal. Which even then, that's kind of a super tall task because they don't have that big-time player, which is kind of the point of that sort of analogy, but it's very hard to win if you don't have the guy who can match Kevin Durant and Steph Curry in terms of shot making. Unless Gordon Hayward has another level to get to, which I don't think he does, but maybe, I don't know. The thing about the Jazz is I think them completely healthy is a really frickin' good team. Derek Favors, when he's completely ready to go, is maybe the fourth best defensive power forward in the NBA. And he and Gobert together could just be devastating on that side of the floor. But, he really couldn't move this season, and that's a problem. The other question is with George Hill. If Hill decides to stay, of course he's a fantastic fit for them, then I think you're good to go with your team. If he leaves, then I think you start exploring the option of trading for Eric Bledsoe. Whether that means you have to move Derek Favors or move Alec Burks, I don't know, but I think you go to that as your next option. I don't know, my thing with Utah is I think they're going to be like an awesome team. I just don't know if they're ever going to be good enough, because I just don't think they're ever going to have that big-time player. Like, I could see them being the best defensive team in the NBA and then like the seventh best offensive one, and it's still not enough in a playoff series against Golden State, which is just a tough reality, but it is what it is. Now, the Clippers, even if everybody comes back, which would be Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and JJ Redick, then I still don't think they're good enough defensively. I don't think they're deep enough. And Chris Paul is going to be like 33. Now, if CP3 is on the Spurs, which is a team that's great when it comes to managing older players, that's one thing. This is the Clippers we're talking about. And Doc Rivers is not known for having smart rotations. So I think that team is just never going to be good enough. Going down the West, OKC doesn't have enough options to improve their roster. If Chandler Parsons is completely healthy for the Grizzlies, I think that could up their win total quite a bit. If you have like a Conley, Chandler Parsons, JaMychal Green, Marc Gasol thing going on. But there is the fear of Gasol's age, on top of they probably just don't have enough scoring to match up with the Warriors. I think the next team you might be eyeing is like the Pelicans here. I mean, if Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins can work, I mean, that could be the type of team that could give the Warriors trouble. But there's like $9 million questions with them. If Drew Holiday comes back, if Alvin Gentry is not a bad coach, which he kind of is there enough talent around those two? There's just too many questions. I mean, the T-Wolves, like, if Towns and Wiggins start playing defense this season, then maybe they could, take a leap this year, and then if we fast forward, 3 more seasons or something crazy, I don't know, man. I give the best bet to the Spurs because of where they are now and the flexibility they still have. After that, I mean, get used to the Warriors is all I'm going to say.